Okay, welcome back. Like I said before, we're going to talk about responsibility now. Now, the tool that I like to discuss, or the vehicle I like to discuss responsibility with, is this thing I made up called the champion and the chumpion. And first, let's talk about the champion. My definition of champion is people who overcome challenges to achieve result that they want. I actually wrote a book, and the book's actually called The Challenge Makes the Champion. And that's what I really believe. I honestly believe that it's through overcoming adversity, it's through facing challenges that you truly get to know yourself. We have these implicit biases in the subconscious mind that there's all these things that drive us that we're not even aware of. And they only show up when we see them through our behavior. We get to live the consequences of them. Now, here's the problem. We have this implicit bias, which is built through, could be our epigenetics, could be our lived experiences through nature and nurture, our values and beliefs, our culture, all these things that impact on who we are and what we believe and think. And then we have our explicit biases. And we've actually created ourselves through experience and deliberate growth and conscious decisions. We know who we are today consciously and how we want to present ourselves to the world. And then we get challenged and our safety gets threatened. And then one of these core wounds or one of these implicit biases show up and we act in a way that's not congruent with how we know ourselves today as a mature adult. And it causes a conflict. And while we're in that conflict, because it really is threatening our safety, we have all these coping mechanisms. And one of them is blame. Another one's shame, guilt. We try to put the blame off on someone else so that we don't have to see ourselves in that state, this weak, vulnerable, unsafe place. And then it creates an internal conflict. And this is the gap. You see it playing out with people all the time, creates all sorts of mental well-being issues when we can't reconcile the difference between our implicit and explicit biases or what lives in our subconscious and what we're aware of consciously. So the champion is a person who goes on this journey to narrow the gap between who they are inside, hidden away in their subconscious, and how they are outside. That's the work. And that's why I say being a champion is someone who can overcome challenges to achieve the results. The results are just what you set, but being able to overcome them, you have to grow. You have to have these tools and skills that may not go with your implicit biases or your nature even. And that's where you get this growth from. And then we have the champions. And we talked about the champions. The champions are the people who they don't feel empowered and they have to take it out on the world. They feel vulnerable, they're afraid. They may look very powerful. They might even be intimidating. They might have lots of money. There are lots of people, you don't look any certain way, but it's the way that you feel and act. Anyone who has to get their power through disempowering someone else, they're a champion. Now, we all kind of fall into this territory sometime in our life where we might be taking advantage of our authority or our privilege. We might, misuse our power in some way. But if this is your habit, if this is your character, then you're a champion. I found this was really interesting. 1944's office sabotage tactics are 2015's normal office behavior. And I would say here in 2021, it's the exact same. Deceit, dishonesty, not having good character or integrity. This is just commonplace now. But I'll tell you what's really interesting. There's this battle happening where people actually don't want this life anymore. And they're not going to settle for it. We're not going to settle for another global financial crisis where someone can make money while other people are losing their homes and losing their lives, taking their lives. People just, we're not going to settle. We're not going to settle for uh, supremacy over someone else when we hold the privilege and the power. And there are people who hold the privilege and the power who say no more. I hold the privilege, I hold the power, but I refuse to continue this cycle of abuse, this cycle of supremacy and racism and hate, sexism, classism. And they're doing something about it. We all have to do something about it. And it's the people who hold the privilege and the power who have to make the change. The other people can bring it to the light, but it's the people who are creating the system who have to change the system. So a champion's mindset really creates a powerful life for you. And that's what it's really about. It's really about having successful fulfillment. And that's what we're looking for. So again, I would rather say work-life harmony instead of balance, because balance implies that every area is going to get treated equally. And when we're looking at high performance, we just can't do that. At some point, because you're investing heavily in excellence, the other areas of your life will not get any attention. So in this holistic high performance system, you are nurturing those other areas. Doesn't mean they're going to be perfect. It just means you give yourself the opportunity for health and well-being. And that's the champion's mindset. The champion's mindset is one of being disempowered, and so I'm going to disempower others. When we come back, we're going to look at clarity.